warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hey everyone and welcome back to the reading room. I'm Danish and today's episode is all about Voices Unveiled, a literary anthology that dives deep into the emotional struggles and quiet strength of Malaysian women through poetry, fiction and film.
So we've all heard about the phrase "strong woman," but here's the thing: this anthology doesn't show strength as loud or dramatic. It shows it as something emotional, patient, and often silent.
Yes, I agree with Ain. It's not just about feminism or patriarchy. It's about how emotion itself becomes resistance. These women don't fight with words, but they do fight by enduring.
I also wanted to add the fact that the work we'll be discussing today is included four poem, two short story, and also one film, which is Bunga and Tembok, Aku, Kesal Seorang Ibu Yang Bekerja, For Maria, and the son of Mat Lela, and also Muksin.
And what's cool is how they all connect emotionally even though they are from different genres and decades.
Right. So, before we get into the poems, let's talk about how women's voice even began to rise in Malaysian literature.
Okay, for the first segment is the background of Malaysian women's writing. Before Before the 1970s, Malaysian literature was largely driven by male nationalists. Their themes were about unity, independence, and rebuilding a nation.
But in the 70s and 80s, women writers started breaking away from that national narrative. Poets like Salmi Manja and Zurina Hassan began writing about love, emotion, and personal conflict.
Yeah, poets like Sami Manja and Zurina Hassan were basically saying our lives matter too. Instead of writing about wars and heroes, they wrote about guilt, motherhood, loneliness, and self awareness.
I also wanted to add the fact that there's a writer that called Shirley Gilt Lin Lim who bought a hybrid identity where she wrote in English, merging the Malaysian context with the way Western literary style.
And in the film, Yasmin Ahmad that took the emotional honesty to the screen and showing real Malaysia with raw humor and a heart.
So, in short, women writers weren't just adding new voice. They were redefining what counts as literature. They turned emotion into art, silence into storytelling.
Let's move on to the second segment, which is poem discussions. Okay, let us start with the first poem, which will be Bunga dan Tembok, or The Flower in the Wall by Latifah Muhyiddin.
Okay, so this poem is all about contrast. So the flower represents a womanhood, which is fragile but persistent, and the wall represents patriarchy, which is rigid, immovable, and cold.
Yes, I agree. And the beauty of it is that the flower doesn't need to destroy the wall. It just continues to bloom beside it. That's emotional defiance in its quietest form.
I agree, and also the fact that Mohideen doesn't romanticize rebellion. She celebrates endurance, which is the kind that happen when no one is watching.
Okay, there are also a psychological side here. The wall isn't just external, it's internal too. It's the guilt, fear, and self-censorship women internalized because of social conditioning.
And yet, Mohideen shows that even awareness of the wall is a form of resistance. Once you see it, you can question it. That's where liberation begins.
Okay, next up is the poem Aku by Salmi Manji. Aku, which means I, this one is by Salmi Manja, and it's got such a strong opening. Aku bukan boneka di tangan sesiapa, or I am not a puppet in anyone's hand.
So that line alone flips traditional expectation. It's bold, it's declarative. It's a woman saying, I'm not defined by anyone else.
And what's interesting is that the poem isn't angry, it's self-aware. She admits to pain, betrayal, loneliness, but she also learns from it.
I also wanted to add the fact that there's a strong line which is me. Aku telah belajar dari luka, dan daripada air mata aku jadi wadah. Basically, a direct translation means I learn from wounds, and from tear I become still.
That's the evolution right there. Emotional pain become the teacher. Instead of breaking her, it forget her identity.
And that's such an early feminist voice in Malay poetry, such as not aggressive but assertive, strength through reflection.
Okay, so the third poem will be Kesal Seorang Ibu Yang Bekerja by Zurina Hassan. Now, this one hits differently. Kesal Seorang Ibu Yang Bekerja, or The Regrets of a Working Mother by Zurina Hassan.
Yeah, it's one of those poems that just quietly breaks your heart. It's about a mother apologizing to her child for leaving home every morning to go to work.
The guilt is palpable. Anakku, maafkanlah ibu. It's both love and sorrow in one breath.
And what I found beautiful is that how the child becomes a symbol of innocence, of what's lost in pursuit of survival.
Zurina never condemned the mother. She just let her speak, showing that even sacrifice is an act of love.
It's such an honest depiction of what many women feel, such as that painful balance between duty and affection. And through that, Zurina redefines resilience as emotional courage.
Okay, for the fourth and last poem is For Maria by Shirley Gyeok Lin Lim. For Maria by Shirley Gyeok Lin Lim shifts the tone. It's more quieter and more reflective.
Okay, so for Maria, it's about woman's emotional inheritance, which is how silence, empathy, and restraint are passed down from mothers to daughters.
There's that haunting line taken straight from the poem. We are daughters of silence, learning to speak with our eyes. It implies that everything about generational emotion.
So what I love about this poem is that how Lim connects Malaysian women's experience to global ideas of womanhood, basically tenderness, guilt, and also understanding.
And she writes in English, but the emotion feels distinctly Malaysian, and it's restrained but sincere.
Together, these four poems show different shades of strengths, such as confinement, self-assertion, sacrifice, and also empathy.
It's all true. So, what are they saying? They all are saying only one thing. Emotion isn't weakness, it's power in another language. So, For the third segment, we will be going through short stories. And the first short story will be Maria by Cik Husna Azban.
Okay, so shifting gears to fiction. Let's start with Maria by Cik Husna Azhari, which is one of my favorite short stories.
Yes, correct. It's also one of my favorite short stories. Actually, the story sets in Kelantan and centers around Maria, an independent food stall owner who becomes the second wife of the village imam.
So this is actually where the irony hits, where the imam, supposedly a man of faith, used the religion to justify his desire.
Exactly. Cik Husna used humor and subtle satire to expose the hypocrisy of moral authority in patriarchal setting.
What stands out to me is how Maria never loses her dignity. Even within that system, she holds on to her independence emotionally and financially.
Right, the story doesn't victimize her, but then it shows that even when trapped in a social structure, a woman can reclaim her agency through self-respect. Next, we will be going to the short story The Son of Mat Lela by Lee Kok Liang.
Okay, now this one, the son of Mat Lela is written by a male author, which is Lee Kok Liang, but it fits perfectly with the anthology's theme.
Because even though the title focuses on a man, the emotional heart of the story belongs to the women, the mother and the wife.
So in this story, basically about both of them live under the shadow of male instability. Basically, the mother's entire life revolves around caring for her son, the wife. Meanwhile, faces humiliation and also fear.
But their silence, that's where Lee's genius lies. He turns silence into a kind of moral strength.
Exactly. Their quiet endurance becomes a form of resistance. They hold the family together when the men fall apart.
That's the beauty of it. It's a critique of patriarchy from within. Lee shows that emotional strength doesn't always look loud or visible. Sometimes it's just about surviving with dignity. Next, we will be going to the fourth segment, which is film analysis. The first film that we will be analyzing is Mohsin 2006 by Yasmin Ahmad.
So now to the film, Mohsin by Yasmin Ahmad is a coming of age story, but it's really about emotional honesty.
So the story, the film, Mohsin, it's centered and follows Orchid and Mohsin, two kids discovering first love during the school holidays. So the story basically is tender, innocent, and quietly devastating.
Okay, so I want to talk about one of the character, which is Orchid. She played such a beautiful character, which is outspoken, playful, and emotionally open. She basically represents freedom, especially emotional freedom.
Okay, as for Murphy, that love can be real but fleeting. That lesson sometimes people don't end up together, and that's okay. We can capture Yasmin's philosophy perfectly.
Okay, so the film's visuals, such as like the open skies, kite flying, and laughter, so they all symbolize that sense of freedom and impermanence.
And that's what ties Mohsin back to the rest of the anthology. Resilience isn't just about surviving pain, it's about accepting life with openness and grace. Next, we will be going to the last segment, which is the synthesis and the conclusion.
Okay, so what connects all these works, which is the poems, the short stories, and the film, is how they redefine strength.
Taken from the poem, the short story, and the film, we know that these women aren't warriors in the traditional sense, but their strength comes from passion, self-awareness, and compassion.
I agree. Whether it is Latifa's flower blooming behind a wall or Zorina's mother whisper apology before works, it's every single literary work shows that every act of endurance is an act of courage.
Okay. And when Yasmin Ahmad show Orchid's innocence or Maria's composure, it's the same emotional line-ish.
Together, they create a collective voice, that one that says to feel is to resist.
That's right. To feel is to resist. Is what Malaysian women's literature and film teach us about. It teaches us that emotion is not a weakness to be hidden. It is a strength to be understood.
Yes, so because at the end of the day, endurance itself is a form of power.
So that's all from us today. Thanks for tuning in to the reading room. We hope you carry these stories with you. And remember that resilience doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for listening.
Thank you for listening.